Hello explorers, welcome back. Today I want to share 3 ways that you can save hundreds of pounds on accommodation costs as you're travelling around the world. I'm sure you will realise that accommodation and flights are the 2 most expensive items when planning a round the world trip. So you have to stick to a budget, especially when it comes to accommodation. You have to be really strict with yourself. For my 6-month trip, my budget was £30 a night, and that is about, I would say, $45 US. Now in some countries I lived like a king, like in Southeast Asia, but when it came to Australia, New Zealand and the USA, I was getting a little bit concerned because accommodation costs were much more expensive than I envisaged. I was getting concerned that I would have to stay in dormitories, in hostels, and I wasn't looking forward to that at all. So I did some research, and what I found is a number of ways where I could actually travel in Australia, New Zealand and the USA and not pay anything for my accommodation at all. The first way to receive free accommodation is to volunteer. Now the best way to do this is to use a site like helpx.net. I'm going to leave a link to all the sites I mentioned in the description. Now with helpx.net, what happens is the person who wants a volunteer basically goes onto the site and lists what type of jobs that they're offering for somebody to do, volunteer, and in return they will give you free accommodation and possibly free food and drink. Now you can do all sorts of tasks. There are people looking for gardeners, DIY builders, web designers, social media experts, writers, everything that you can think of. There will be somebody on that site looking for your skills. So what I did is I decided I was going to spend 4 weeks volunteering in Australia and 2 weeks just doing the touristy thing. So I found 2 hosts who hosted me for 2 weeks, and I did for them web design work and helped them with the social media and did a bit of training, one-on-one training with them, and I received free accommodation. I had my own room, my own space, and they cooked me my dinner in the evening. I didn't have lunch there, but I could have done if I wanted to because I was out exploring. But the way I did it is I did 2 hours in the morning and then an hour in the evening. I've only had good experiences though. It's always worth reading the reviews left by other people that have stayed there, because that's really important, just like you would if you were checking a hotel and the hotel reviews. So it's a great way. So HelpX is the site that I used. You pay a very small fee, an annual fee, to become a member so that people can reply to you and you can contact them. Now the other way that you can receive free accommodation is by house sitting. There are tons and tons of house sitting sites out there. I'm not going to recommend one in particular because I've never done house sitting. I just know a lot of travellers that have done it and rave about it. But basically how it works is that you, again, like volunteering, you create a profile and you contact people who are looking for house sitters. Now again, like volunteering, you will have to do some work. You're not just going to be looking after the house. You may have to walk a dog, look after some chickens or a little farm. There could be all sorts of different duties that you might have to do, maybe a bit of DIY, keeping the house nice and tidy. And house sitting could be from anything from a week to 6 months to a year. It really does depend on how long you're wanting to stay in one particular location. Again, like the volunteering, there is a small charge to be a member on most of the sites that are out there. And yeah, again, free accommodation in return for helping local people out. It's definitely a way of really drastically reducing your hotel costs. The next thing is something called Couchsurfing. Now, I haven't done Couchsurfing yet, but I am planning to do it later this year. Again, like volunteering and house sitting, you create a profile and you find people in the location that you're visiting. always make sure you read the reviews left by other travellers. Now, I would just say to you here, you've got to be sensible. You wouldn't use Couchsurfing to stay in a place for a week, 2 weeks. It's really only going to be for a couple of days. Safety is so important, so make sure you read all of the useful advice that's on the Couchsurfers website. There are also events that happen in most cities, and you can go there free of charge and just speak to people who are doing Couchsurfing or are actually hosts. And yeah, you get to meet lots of new people and socialise with those people if that's what you want to do. You won't necessarily have your own room. You might have to sleep on a sofa, but if that's going to mean that you're reducing the cost of your accommodation, then it's a bonus. So, to recap, volunteering, house sitting and couchsurfing are the three best ways to drastically reduce the accommodation costs for your round the world trip. If you have any questions or any suggestions on ways to save money on accommodation, please leave them in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video and found it useful, please give it a thumbs up and share the video, because that really does help me get the message out there and just grow my channel. So I really do appreciate the support for those of you that do thumbs the videos up and do share them. If you're not a subscriber and you've stumbled across this video, please do click that subscribe button, and I'll be doing lots more videos offering some travel advice, travel tips, remote working tips. I'll also be exploring and sharing the places and the people that I come across as I travel. Take care.